Okay, so can we start?
Sure.
Okay, just. Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I am Priya from Opportune Technology, and I am delighted to welcome you to today's webinar. As many of you already know, Opportune Technology offer an end-to-end HR solution. Our cloud-based HRMS is trusted by over 300 plus clients and 3 lakh plus users across India. Today's session is specially organized by Opportune in association with Paazcare for our esteemed client. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Miss Tejasvi Menon. She is a key account manager at Paazcare, and today she will guide us how HRs at small companies can buy insurance that works. So, without any delay, I would like to hand it over to Tejasvi. Tejasvi, you may begin now.
Thank you. So, just to give an introduction about myself. So, I am Tejasvi. I work at Paazcare currently as the key account manager. And just to summarize my journey, so I started off in Nova Benefits as an SDR. So, I think my biggest career advantage has been that I started off in an insurtech at the ground level. As up in the pre-sales department, and then I moved to Paazcare, completely looking into the sales part. So I think I have gained enough knowledge in the same industry to be able to, after meeting a lot of clients working in primarily smaller sector and also in the mid market and enterprise. So yeah, this was just a brief about myself, and I think with all these years of experience, I've understood, what exactly the HRs are looking for, the benefits that they intend to offer the employees, and also how they could actually impact the life, how they could, increase the experience that the employees have at their organization, where in case if they leave tomorrow, they leave at a very good note based on the benefits that they were offered, etc. Also, just to take you through the slide, just give me a minute. There is some issue with my system. Just give me a minute.
One minute or go back.
Yeah, so just to give you a brief about the problems that HRs today are ideally facing. So that being them having to manually look into all the processes, wherein, starting from actually when a claim is filed to sharing the documents for the addition and deletion with the insurance company. And also at the same time, there are hardly any benefits that's being offered by these insurance companies. So that is where we as a broker could come with a difference. Because again, if you take any insurance policy, there is hardly 5 to 10% of the employees that actually claim. So what is in it for the rest of the employees who does not? That is one problem statement that at Paazcare we want to solve, or any insurtech solves today. The second problem statement, as I mentioned earlier, is the manual tracking of everything, wherein the HR is having to call the broker or the insurer to understand where their claims are at, has the additions and deletions been processed, etc. So at Paazcare, what we try and do is we have automated all of this process. So we have a dashboard and a mobile application wherein if any employee, they could come on the application, apply for claims, utilize all of the additional benefits that is being offered, utilize the dashboard. The HR can utilize the dashboard, see the additions and deletions that are in process. So again, the advantage being the HR is having to spend less time on this, because if you look at it, it's not an HR's KRA to look into insurance. That is where there is an insurance company and a broker to take care of this. So when they fail, the HRs are having to step in. Also, again, I'm sure many of you who already have insurance policies, they would have, experienced where where the employees are reaching out to you. And it could be at the middle of the night, or it could be any time during a holiday, because the employees are not aware on who exactly to reach out to. So that is where it again complicates the process. So we want to ensure that there is a seamless process where the all the employees are aware of what to be done in case of any claim, how things could be managed beyond just focusing on the quotes, beyond just focusing on the pricing, to ensure that there is a really good experience. So I just wanted to first understand, like, how many of you, if you could even reply in the chat of how many of you present here currently already do have a policy, or how many of you are looking to book for a fresh policy. Just a quick response would do, just to understand, the crowd that we have here. Like, do you guys already have an insurance, or are you looking for a fresh one? I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So since I don't have any response here, I think I'll have to take the call forward accordingly. So assuming there is a mix of population here, whereas 50% of people who actually already do have insurance and 50% who are looking for fresh. So the agenda is to ensure that whoever already has a policy goes back and checks their benefits, and whoever who does not have a policy makes the right decisions before booking one. So, what exactly is a group health insurance, and how is it beneficial for the employees? So, what we usually see is that whenever you go into the market to get, let's say, a retail policy, then what happens is that there is a waiting period, the pre existing diseases are not covered, and the premiums are pretty high. So that is when an employer could step in and could help all the employees book a group health insurance wherein there is no waiting period, all the pre existing diseases are covered, also at a very minimal cost. Now, if the employer wants to pitch in, then that's well and good. If not, also it can be availed at an average premium of, let's say, 5,000 to 10,000. So even if you deduct it from somebody's salary, this 5,000 to 10,000 is for the whole year, which does not make much difference, but the benefits that can be offered instead is of huge help. So what are the important elements when somebody, for somebody who's already booked a policy, or whoever is looking for a fresh policy? So one is, what would be the family definition, what would be the sum insured that you want to offer, the copay percentage, what is the room rent limit at, and also how are the claims being processed, how seamless can you ensure that the process is happening. So the first step being is picking the right family definition. So again, if I am to consider a population who already has the policy, or who's looking to book for a fresh policy. So in that case, ideally, whenever it's a fresh policy, we suggest you could even start with an employee only policy for a year and see how it's functioning. But suppose, let's say, where the majority of the population is not in the younger crowd, who are not below 30s, then at that point, ideally, we suggest that you go ahead and book an employee spouse children policy. Because if it's somewhere of the age group between, let's say below 30, then majority of their parents could also be currently working, which means they could be covered by their employer or by their siblings. So in that case, double coverage does not seem to benefit much. Also, suppose, let's say if the crowd is, let's say, above 40, that is when we ideally suggest, you go ahead and cover for parents also. So as you would know, the parental policies, they are usually very expensive, because again, parents are highly prone to risk. So in that cases, whenever you are including parents in the policy, then you should also be aware of the budget that you need to set for it, because ideally you will have to keep aside, let's say, another 10,000 or 20,000 extra whenever parents are being covered. Now, the most policy types that are being booked, again, based on the employee sizes. Enterprise accounts, whenever we usually see, ideally parents and parents in laws are covered. Whenever we look into a mid market account, then it's usually parents or parents in law. So, again, it depends on what the budget that you would want to allocate. How much would you want to pitch in? How much do you expect the employees to pitch in? Depending on that, you can definitely create a graded sum insured or a variation. Maybe move parents to a voluntary basis where the employee will have to pitch in, and then you could pay just for the employee spouse and children. So accordingly, you should be able to decide the family definition based on the demographics, based on the budget, and also how much do you want to offer for the employee. Now, talking about maternity benefit. So, maternity is something that has a great implication on your premium. And again, there are organizations when they start a policy, they ideally might not go ahead with getting a maternity benefit. Like they might opt out of the maternity in the first 2 3 years just to understand how would their policy function. So ideally, we suggest 50,000 and 50,000 be kept aside as in one for the normal and also for the C-section. Why 50-50? That is a good number to start with. However, we also do see a lot of employee first organizations having their maternity limits at, let's say, 1 lakh, 1 lakh also. Because again, if your employees are majorly located in any of the metro cities, then you would notice that, let's say, if you go into any good hospital, the expense could be around, let's say, from 75,000 to 1 lakh. So you also do or have the option wherein you can aid into some amount, which is, if it's, suppose if it's 50,000, or like suppose if it's a scenario where you do not want to pitch in the whole amount, then at that point again 50-50 also gives an impact for the employee, right? So at least 50,000 the employee is not having to put out of their pocket. But however, if you want to ensure a seamless experience for your employee, then at that case, I would ideally suggest maybe a 1 lakh, 1 lakh coverage. Next, the biggest decision that has to be made is on the sum insured. So ideally, we do suggest, again, if it's a fresh policy, we suggest that you start with a 3 lakh sum insured. Also, whenever it's, suppose if it's a renewal, then again we try and ask them to move to a 5 lakh sum insured. Because again, depending on it, it would depend on multiple things. So one being the employees, where are they located? Now, suppose if they are located in tier 2 or tier 3 cities, then 3 lakhs could be sufficient. But suppose if they are located in a tier 1 city, in that case 3 lakhs might not make much of a difference, because this 3 lakhs, suppose if it's an employee, spouse, children, parents, family definition that you are choosing, then in that case it's for the whole family that this 3 lakh amount has been allotted. Suppose if a parent goes ahead and claims for even 2 lakhs, then there is just 1 lakh left for the rest of the family members. So in that cases, either when it's a tier 2, tier 3 is only when we suggest a 3 lakhs. If it's a metro city, ideally we suggest 5 lakhs. Also, there are organizations that go ahead and opt in for graded sum insureds, wherein they would divide a certain category or certain designation for 3 lakhs, certain designations in 5 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 10 lakhs accordingly. Also, there are also organizations who do where 3 lakhs is the base that they offer. Anybody who wants to pay the extra premium and upgrade themselves to 5 lakh, that becomes an option. Or even 7 lakhs also, there are organizations that actually do offer. So this is just a brief demographics of how the sum insured has been divided based on employee sizes. The next thing becomes choosing the room rent limit. So the things that we're discussing here are the ones that they have a major impact on your premium. So being it the family definition that you choose, the maternity that you choose, the sum insured that you choose, similarly the room rent limits. So again speaking, ideally there are three categories where you can choose the room rent limit. So let's say, for example, it can be 1% of your normal sum insured for the normal room, 2% of your sum insured for an ICU, or else it can be 2% and 4% respectively, or there can be no cap. Again, ideally, we do not suggest no cap, because there could be a case where an employee could have a twin sharing room. But then, since there is no cap written in the policy, they might go ahead and want to book a super deluxe room, which could, suppose if the twin sharing was 5,000, they are going ahead and booking something of 20,000, which is ultimately a loss for the employer. So that is where we suggest that 2% and 4% be kept aside as the room rent limit, so that the employees also benefit, but there is no exploitation. For example, suppose if the sum insured is 5 lakh, then it's actually possible even in a metro city to avail a room for, let's say, 10,000 and an ICU for, let's say, around 20,000. So this is the major things that you should consider whenever you're deciding a room rent limit. Majorly on what is the demography in which majority of the employees are located. Now, if it's a rural or if it's in the metro areas, again, a room rent cap is definitely suggestible to avoid the exploitation. Now, discussing on copay. So, copay is in a system wherein, suppose a claim has come about for, let's say, around 1 lakh. And now you introduce a copay of 10%. So, in that case, the employee bears 10,000 out of their pocket. and the rest 90,000 is borne by the insurance company. So the biggest advantage of adding copay is that it gives you a lot of discount on your premium. Ideally, what would have costed you, suppose the premium would have been as big as much as 5 lakhs, it could come down to 4 lakh just by the introduction of 10% copay. Again, it depends on the family definition that you're introducing. Ideally, we do not suggest copay for employee, spouse, or children policy, because again, there are always lesser chances of employees or spouse or children actually going ahead and coming claiming more. Because I do see a lot of policies on a day-to-day basis where 90% of the claims are made by parents and just 10% by employees. Like today, I was having a discussion where the policy is as big as 85 lakhs, out of which almost 72 lakhs are actually claimed by parents. So in those cases, ideally, we suggest a 10% copay only on parental claims if the family definition is employee, spouse, children, and parents. Now, what are the additional elements? These are the very basic elements that always have a direct impact on the premium. So, what are the additional elements that we could be looking at? So, one being cataract or a disease wise limit. So, whenever there is a disease wise no limit, that has a huge impact on your premium. So what happens is that when you decide a no sublimit, then in that cases, again, suppose if it's a cataract, I know for sure right now you can get a good lens per eye at a cost of, let's say, around 35 to 50,000. But if the employees were to see there is no limit, then there is a chance where the employee might go ahead and opt for a lens that is 75,000, which is technically a luxury. So to limit that, but also to ensure that there is sufficient benefit for the employee, that is where we try and suggest that you put a limit. So whenever you're putting a limit, there are multiple options. So one is a default sublimit, one is a higher limit, one is a lower limit. So always it's better to put a default sublimit so that whatever is the average range that is costing for that particular treatment, the insurers would agree to pay up to that. But whenever you opt for a lower limit, the premium definitely would be at a very reduced rate, but the employee might have to compromise and have to go in for a cheaper form of that surgery, which could have a huger implications on the later stage. So how can Paazcare help you? So one is we always try and provide a consultative approach based on what are your requirements. Because not every organization wants to offer a 3 lakh sum insured. Not every organization would agree for a copay. So depending on whatever your requirements are, that is how we try and help you and how we try and help formalize a policy so that it's beneficial both for the employer as well as the employee. So always, whenever any claim is made, ideally it should be settled within 15 days if it's a reimbursement. Always we suggest that all the employees should go for cashless so that there is always lesser chance of rejection and also there is no out of pocket spend. So here, whenever Paazcare onboards a client, we try and ensure that we place it with such an insurer where they have servicing capabilities, where the turnaround time is less than 15 days. And also, when it comes to the claim settlements, again, always we try for, let's say, around 95%. Because again, if you look at the insurer average, it's as low as around 60 to 65%. So you definitely would need a service provider who would fight for your claims, who would ensure that all of the claims are settled. There is no unnecessary rejections. Because if a claim is rejected, then the employee will have to spend out of their pocket. So how do we ensure these? For that, we do have a mobile application customized according to your organization. And in these mobile application, we have a lot of features such as the WhatsApp chatbot that is available 24 bar 7. Then there is definitely a dashboard for the HR. Then there are other steps such as the direct contact of the customer success manager that is available in the application. Because I do know a lot of insurtechs wherein you have to, dial an IVRS, then press 1, press 2, so that is not possible for somebody who's in hospital and is looking for an immediate response. So at Paazcare, we offer a wide variety of these customer support benefits. Also, how do you decide on what are the benefits that you need? So that is where we have come up with a customized policy benchmarking report where we would tell you what your competitors are doing, on how are others performing, how is the ENPS, and how is the employee satisfaction. Based on whatever the benefits that you're offering, we would be benchmarking it with other organizations also. Also, it's very important that you pick the right insurer, because again, whenever Paazcare suggests an insurer, we try and ensure that it's something that's serviceable for us. Because tomorrow, let's say, if there is any claim, and if the claim gets rejected, then you would directly approach us, right? So it's not going to be on the insurer, but it's on the service provider who's the face of your employee benefits. So we try and ensure that we always suggest tier one insurers who have higher claim settlements, who has better network hospitals. We always suggest better TPAs also, and also who has much more faster reimbursement process. Now, how exactly do you calculate the premium? So here, now suppose if it's a renewal, okay, then it's completely based on what is the premium that you paid last year and how did your policy perform. Now suppose you paid a premium of 10 lakhs and you have a claim of 12 lakhs, which means the policy is already bleeding. And if suppose the claims are at 12 lakhs and the life increase again, there is a 10% life increase. So then we load it as 5%. So technically it's claims plus whatever the life increase plus the additional IBNR as mentioned here, which is incurred but not reported claims. Then there is medical inflation, TPA fee, operational charge of insurers. Technically, from the claims, there could be a spike of another 20%. That is how your next year premium would look like. Now, suppose if it's a fresh policy, then in that case, we would calculate it based on the demography of the employees. Now, suppose if you're going for a family definition of the employee, spouse, children, and parents. So, in that case, what does the parental demography fall to? Is it like everybody is above 60? Then it could become much more expensive. Now, suppose if it's an employee, spouse, children policy, but majority of the employees they fall below the age of 30, then again the premium is pretty low. So here, just wanted to give you a quick example of how across various industries do they function. Suppose if it's an event management company, then their requirements are pretty different. Now, suppose if it's a manufacturing or a logistics company, in that case, the tech development that we have might not be of much impact because majority could be blue collar workers. So, in that case, what becomes more essential is the human touch. So, if we can set up a help desk at your office every week, maybe, wherein the employees could walk up to us and ask those questions, or how to settle the claims and how we could help in person them. Or suppose if it's a fintech, then they are very advanced in using the technology. So in those cases, more customization on the mobile application really helps. Just wanted to, before I finish, just wanted to give you a brief about our current clientele. So we have around 2000 plus customers. Our primary focus is on retention because, again, as you would know, when it comes to insurance, onboarding is just 1% of it. But how we service them throughout the year is what makes the actual difference. And we are integrated currently with a lot of insurers and TPAs. And we work with a lot of, again, insurers and TPAs who are tier one. Also, it's not just insurance that we offer. We also do offer a lot of additional employee benefits. So that being said, we have partnered with a lot of mental, financial, and physical wellness partners to ensure that there is enough employee benefits that is being offered. So yeah, this was just a brief presentation that I wanted to walk you through based on what benefits you should offer and how to take an insurance policy that's not just based on pricing, but also based on the experience that you could offer the employees. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you could have, or how Paazcare could make a difference. So any questions here?
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
May I ask you one question
Sure.
regarding parents addition? Okay,
Okay.
why can't you add with the employee their parents also? If it is we differentiate their parents into more than 60 age, already old age persons like that. Without parents, we can't we can't na madam. So can we add it, add the parents, why we will define the family definition as a with parents?
I did not quite understand.
मैडम मैं पूछ रहा हूँ अभी विदाउट पेरेंट्स तो हम लोग तो नहीं है, ओके?
अच्छा, you
इसलिए
already have parents in your policy.
नहीं, वो हमारा डेफिनेशन क्या है? फैमिली डेफिनेशन एम्प्लॉई, स्पाउस, किड्स।
Okay, understood.
वो पेरेंट्स को ऐड किया तो वो अमाउंट ज्यादा होता है करके वो ऐड नहीं करते हैं।
Understood. Understood.
इंश्योरेंस पर्सन कैन चीप इट, अगर वो कमी किया तो इजीली उसको भी वो फायदा मिलेगा ना मैडम, वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ।
No, so basically, just to reiterate the question that you are asking. So, current policy is employee, spouse, and children, and you want to add parents, but since it's very expensive, you're
Yes.
unable to. So, you're looking for a way wherein you could add parents at a cheaper cost, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, usually क्या होता है? Whenever it's parents का claim करने का higher chances होते हैं, right? क्योंकि they are in their older age. तो क्योंकि उनका higher chances है, that is why insurers don't support. So क्योंकि insurers अभी के लिए support नहीं कर रहे, as in you will have to pay higher cost. That is where we come up with a lot of tweaks in the policy. जैसे कि 10% co-pay introduce करना. तो अगर आपका per parent cost आ रहा था maybe around 20,000, then maybe you introducing a co-pay could bring down the parental cost to around 15,000. वैसे ही आप यहाँ वहाँ थोड़ा टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस चेंज करके आपको एट अ चीपर कॉस्ट पेरेंट्स को ऐड कर सकते हैं.
Okay.
Yes. What is the employee size that we could be looking at here?
Presently, we are having 800 plus employees.
800 plus employees. And
Yes.
would the employees be ready to pay for the parental premium?
Yes.
Understood. But उनको उतना ज़्यादा spend नहीं करना, is that correct?
Yes, madam, correct.
Understood. So अगर
मोरेवर क्या होता है मैडम, अभी पेरेंट्स को मोर देन 60 एज करके उसको अलग से भी वो इंश्योरेंस नहीं मिलेगा
करेक्ट
बाहर
करेक्ट
का।
करेक्ट. तो अगर वो रिटेल पॉलिसी लेने जाएंगे तो भी उनको 5 साल तक वेटिंग पीरियड फेस करना
हाँ
पड़ेगा.
हाँ,
एंड ऑल्सो द प्रीमियम कुड बी वेरी हाई बिकॉज अगेन दे आर एट दैट एज.
दैट इज
तो
व्हाट।
ऐसे प्रॉब्लम हो सकते हैं, बट दैट इज वेयर अगर आप एक 10% कोपे के साथ इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे या फिर आप डिसीज वाइज थोड़ा कैपिंग लगा के इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे तो फिर आपको और सस्ते दाम में मिल सकता है.
थैंक यू।
एनीबडी एल्स, एनी क्वेश्चंस? Opportune team, I think since nobody has any further questions, maybe we can wind up the session, or if you would like to add anything else, would be more than happy to hear.
Sure, ma'am. We can end this session.
Sure, fine. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
everybody,
session
for
was very helpful.
joining. Sure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I hope this was helpful. And feel free to,
Thank you,
send
everyone.
an email if you have any doubts. Fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
थैंक यू।